What's going on, you guys? This is your boy RBG, aka the Random Black Gamer, bringing you a video on Dragon Ball Project Age 1000, or should I say Dragon Ball Xenoverse 3, which is a title that a lot of fans were flat out calling this since the announcement. And as you can imagine, this caused some heavy debate among people in the community who didn't believe that it was Xenoverse and that it could have been something else, such as Dragon Ball Online, especially given the fact that this game is going to take place in Age 1000, which was the original timeline of DBO. So for the most part, the only thing we can do is speculate on what it could be until the officials came out and said something. But it looks like they have, and it might have been unintentionally, and we're going to talk about that today. But before we dive into today's topic, I want to ask you guys to do me the biggest favor and like this video. Yeah, I know it's a bit annoying getting this request at the very beginning of a video before you watch it in its entirety, but YouTube's algorithm encourages it. So if you rock with your boy and you know I'm going to bring you that awesome content, then press that like button and smash that hype button. But if you just so happen to be new to the channel and you feel like I've wasted 10 minutes of your time that you can't get back, then feel free to retract that like and give it a dislike. Just rate the video. But guys, over the course of 24 hours, I have been receiving a slew of messages from you telling me that I need to talk about this, which is the unofficial official announcement of Dragon Ball Xenoverse 3. And what I mean by this is that this thing was accidentally announced by the official source, that being Bandai Namco, on one of their channels, particularly their Southeast Asia channel, where they would feature the Project Age 1000 trailer in a playlist labeled Xenoverse 3, which eagle-eyed fans were able to spot shortly before the playlist magically disappeared. And that action of itself serves as an official confirmation that yes, this is XV3. And real talk, I wouldn't be surprised if the person managing this channel originally meant to privatize or at least unlist the playlist, but unfortunately for him, but not for us, he forgot to do so, which more than likely resulted in them receiving a earful from Bandai Namco. Seeing this makes me believe that all of the regional based channels under this particular brand have those playlists unlisted and privatized, which usually means that a new trailer bearing the official title is right over the horizon. So we're not going to have that working title anymore. It's definitely going to be Xenoverse 3, and you can expect to see that real soon. And I say this because if you guys remember, a similar thing happened with Dragon Ball Ultimate Tenkaichi, where the project was announced back in May of 2011 under the working title Dragon Ball Game Project 2011, and we would get the reveal trailer with the official title a month later in June, with the game releasing in October of the very same year. And I'm not saying that history is going to repeat itself with this particular title and we're going to see a new trailer next month, but I just have a nagging suspicion that we're going to see one very soon with the Xenoverse 3 title on it, and it's more than likely going to consist of gameplay. Even though we haven't necessarily heard anything from the officials in regards to this particular leak, we've already gotten details in regards to the game's development from the original producer of Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2, that they had already been working on this game for a few years now, with a few leaks suggesting that there's already a playable build of the game. I also want to remind you guys that Bandai Namco is going to be hosting a special event called the Dragon Ball Games Battle Hour 2026, which is not only going to reveal a trailer for the new Dragon Ball Super Beerus anime and Fighter Z DLC, but also Xenoverse 3, and it's going to be on April the 18th and 19th, which further corroborates what I said earlier about us receiving a new trailer a couple months later with the official title. So yeah, man, I am very excited to hear this news, and I'm just excited to see what the future holds for this particular project, because a lot of fans have been waiting for the longest time to receive an official sequel to Xenoverse 2. Not a lot of expansions and DLCs, something that's going to completely rebuild the game from the ground up and provide a solid net code. That's been the bane of our existence, and that's one of the reasons why I just stopped making any videos and even playing Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2, because the online performance was below average. Like, if a developer is going to make a game tailored to online multiplayer, then all those particular facets need to be fine-tuned and ready, especially on the day of launch when you know there's going to be a horde of players trying to squeeze into these servers. And I think that they are going to deliver in that aspect, especially given the fact that we're operating on the newest hardware, that being the PlayStation 5, the Series X, as well as the PC. I think this game is going to be built with all those things in mind to exploit things like the solid state drive SSD technology, which will allow for faster load times. Since the Xenoverse titles feature a lot of globe-trotting and time traveling elements, I feel like one of the games that they should take heavy inspirations from in that regard would have to be Ratchet Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart. This is a title that had these things known as dimensional rifts that allowed players to jump from one world to another in near instantaneous speeds. And we would see the development team Insomniac Games utilize that again in Marvel Spider-Man 2. That right there is the thing that Xenoverse 3 needs to set it apart from its predecessors. Fast load times and instantaneous warp traveling to different locations. Like, loading screens should be a thing of the past, and from what I'm hearing, a lot of work has been done in regards to just building the foundation. Like, they've had to start and then restart over from scratch. But anyways, once Bandai Namco actually does decide to pull the trigger and reveal Dragon Ball Xenoverse 3, I have no doubt that they're going to announce that they're going to be doing an open beta test so players can get their hands on the game, see what it has to offer, and give the developers, who's most likely dimps, the proper feedback they need to fine-tune the game. I'm just going to go ahead and take a wild guess that we'll probably be getting that later this year or early 2027 at the latest, because according to some alleged leaks, they say that the game could be dropping next year or maybe 2028, and that'll give dimps more than enough time to iron out the kinks of any issues that the game has during its beta testing. But anyways, I'm just happy that this game is going to be Xenoverse 3, and I just want to say to you guys, like, I was not right. You can stop telling me that I was right about this being Xenoverse 3, because that wasn't the case with me when I made my initial video. I mentioned that this game could potentially be, it was a high probability that it would be Xenoverse 3 based on certain things that we saw in the trailer. Like I said, this is a project that's very much a spiritual successor of Dragon Ball Online, and the franchise that's utilized a lot of those concepts from DBO would be the Xenoverse games, which for whatever reason I did have a lot of people that were coming at me sideways saying that I was wrong in my assessment, just for simply saying that there was a possibility that this could be XV3. And I just want to tell you guys that when I make these videos, it's all in the name of fun and speculation. I'm not trying to flat out say what something is and what something isn't. I always just give you my thoughts on why I believe that it could be what it is. I never want to get your hypes up only to get them inevitably crushed, and I never want to slam other content creators that have a different opinion than me, whether it be those who outright claim that it was Xenoverse 3 or those who were adamant that it wasn't. If you're in either of those camps, then there's a respectable way that you can go about doing it, but I did notice that a lot of the people that were on the naysayer side of things went so in a way that was trying to attack other content creators, where they said that those people that were claiming that this was Xenoverse 3 were actually coping and that it could not possibly be that, flat out stating that it was Dragon Ball Online instead, since one of the sentences used in the trailer was a new journey. And something that I noticed is that this rhetoric was coming in the form of malice against bigger YouTubers from smaller YouTubers, where they would feature the videos of content creators like Rhymestyle to further drive their point home, which was totally unnecessary in my opinion. I mean, it's one thing to be wrong, but to be loud and wrong at the same time is another, especially if you're going to throw somebody else under the bus. If anything, it just felt like an excuse for these smaller content creators to go at the bigger creators to essentially build more buzz for themselves while also attacking that other content creator's credibility, which I have seen done time and time again, going all the way back to Sparking Zero when they were actually getting mad at some of the bigger content creators for flying down to a certain location and getting early access footage to the game that they could actually put out and generate a lot of views. I feel like there is enough room in this community for all of us to grow, as well as form our own opinions without being disrespectful. So yeah guys, just do that, because one of the things that you don't want to happen when being loud and wrong is for those videos to age like spoiled milk and have the fans of those content creators that you attacked come back and tell you how you were so wrong on your videos. But anyways, I'm just happy to be receiving new updates for this particular title, as well as DLC for Sparking Zero. Not only is it a good time to be a Dragon Ball Z fan, but it's a good time to be a DBZ gaming fan, because we are eating and we should just be grateful for that. But anyways, what are your thoughts on all these new details? Are you excited for Dragon Ball Xenoverse 3? Or are you still not convinced that this game is going to be that and it could potentially be Dragon Ball Online too? Let me know in the comment section below. As always, I ask that you like or dislike the video. It doesn't have to be a thumbs up, it can be a thumbs down. But if you really enjoyed this video, it would help me out tremendously if you shared it with all your friends and followers on all the different social media outlets. Sharing really makes a difference. But once again, this is your boy RBG signing out on another video. I'll catch you guys later. Peace out.